Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the show where, well, you provide the raw material, all the research, and our job is to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
And we try to deliver the distilled knowledge you're actually looking for. This time you sent us an incredibly dense stack of material.
Oh, it was a lot.
An end-of-year recap from the Pi Network detailing everything that happened in 2025. And I think it's fair to say it was... Well, it was arguably the single most important year in its entire history.
It was a year of profound transformation.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not here to just read a press release out loud.
No, absolutely not.
We're here to really dig in, to understand the strategic moves, to analyze these massive operational numbers, and really grasp the implications of a project going from, what, a 6-year build-out?
Yeah.
To a fully connected external network. That's a huge leap.
It is. So our mission today is critical. We need to quickly but thoroughly distill the most important and I think the most surprising developments of Pi's 2025. Specifically, we're focusing on the period after their big foundational shift. We've got to identify the pivots that really matter. And for a deep dive like this, context is everything.
And that context, it really begins with a hard date. We're talking about the launch of the Open Network in February 2025.
Okay, February.
And look, this wasn't just some, technical upgrade. This was the culmination of over 6 years of building infrastructure, cultivating a community.
And frankly, dealing with a lot of public skepticism.
A huge amount of skepticism. So the moment that network went open, it moved from this internal kind of walled garden system to one that was completely focused on external connectivity, interaction with the broader Web3 world, and this is the critical part, ensuring real utility was ready right at the gates.
6 years is just an eternity in the crypto space. It moves so fast.
It's unbelievable.
So that patience was clearly a deliberate strategy, but now the sources you sent over show this explosion of activity across every single dimension. Okay, let's unpack this because our agenda is packed.
Yes.
We've got to cover the shift to decentralized computing, their new strategy around AI and venture capital, the unprecedented scale of their KYC and migration efforts.
And then how it all comes together.
And finally, how they're actually building utility and engagement within this new open ecosystem. That's a lot to tackle.
It's a lot, but it's all connected. Let's dive in.
So let's start where all the action began with that open network launch. You said it removed the protective walls, unlocked external connectivity, but for you, the listener, who maybe follows the broader blockchain space, what did this structural shift specifically enable? What changed on day one?
Well, fundamentally, it allowed the external world, so other blockchains, external APIs, partners, you name it, to interact frictionlessly with the Pi ecosystem.
Okay, so the doors were open.
The doors were wide open. But the preparation for that moment is really what we need to focus on. They weren't just flipping a switch and hoping for the best.
No.
They were unveiling a system that had been sort of quietly in the background, scaling its core resources, and specifically its decentralized computing backbone.
And the sources you provided have some really compelling data on the scale they'd already achieved before that launch. I mean, this is the definition of readiness.
It is. See, the power of Pi Network, it doesn't come from a handful of massive centralized data centers.
Right. It's not the Amazon Web Services model.
Not at all. Its strength lies in its distributed node infrastructure. As of the recap, we are talking about over 350,000 nodes.
Wow.
Currently active on the testnet. And here's the key metric, the one that really matters.
Okay.
These nodes represent more than 1 million CPUs.
1 million CPUs.
1 million CPUs dedicated to securing and now increasingly powering the network. That's a gigantic, geographically diverse, distributed computing fabric.
That scale is certainly impressive just in terms of the sheer numbers, but let's push on the quality aspect of that.
Good question.
Because if the goal, as these sources suggest, is to compete for actual commercial AI contracts, just having 350,000 nodes isn't enough, right?
Right.
Does the source material give us any insight into the quality and the standardization of that compute? Are these, home PCs standardized enough to meet the kind of uptime and latency guarantees a big commercial AI client would demand?
That's a crucial analytical question. And the answer is that the network spent a significant part of 2025 tackling precisely that standardization challenge.
Okay, so they were aware of this.
They were very aware. The documentation highlights a series of technical improvements through node updates, specifically versions 0.5, 0.2, all the way through 0.5, 0.4. And they were really centered on two things: security and performance transparency.
Can you break those technical changes down for us? What did they actually do?
Certainly. So The updates focused on improved overall security, which is, table stakes if you're going to handle external commercial computational tasks.
Absolutely.
They also introduced better tracking of open ports and network availability on each Pioneer's node. But the real game changer, the structural change, was the introduction of the node ranking page.
A ranking page, like a leaderboard for nodes.
Exactly like a leaderboard. This page publicly displays the top 5,000 nodes based on a set of key performance metrics.
That's just.
Things like reliability, availability, open ports, the total number of active days, and of course, CPU performance.
That's a really sophisticated accountability mechanism. You're basically gamifying performance,
You are.
which inherently drives standardization and reliability from the operators themselves. It's like a distributed, self-policing quality control system.
That's a perfect way to put it. And to reinforce that, they made public keys publicly viewable.
So you can see who's who.
Right. It allows individual pioneers to find and verify their own specific node on that ranking page. It connects a piece of infrastructure back to the human who's operating it.
And that reinforces accountability and engagement, I'd imagine.
It does. And they also, very subtly, signal this whole shift by renaming the node application. It's now called PiDesktop.
PiDesktop. Okay, that's more than just a name change, isn't it?
It's a massive hint. It suggests its function is now far broader than just, securing a ledger.
It's a computational utility device.
Precisely. Because while securing the ledger is foundational, the strategy laid out in these documents shows a definitive pivot.
A pivot towards expanding that functionality into a revenue-generating utility.
Yes. The major move here is introducing the concept of decentralized AI training and computing tasks.
And this is where that long-term economic vision, it really crystallizes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The goal is to evolve these hundreds of thousands of decentralized nodes from simple validators into, profitable commodity computational resources.
So instead of just protecting the blockchain,
They're selling the underutilized CPU capacity of millions of people around the world.
the vision there is pretty compelling. You've got commercial parties, companies that need immense computing power for things like
Massive AI model training.
or complex scientific simulations, and they could contract the Pi node operators directly.
And pay them in Pi.
So they would pay the operators in Pi for that additional distributed capacity. It literally creates an entirely new market for the node network.
But to get to that commercial-grade reliability that you asked about earlier, they needed a standardized execution environment.
Right.
This is why the release of the Pi Linux node is such a critical detail in the documents.
Ah, okay. So why Linux specifically? Why is that the key?
Well, think about it. If you're going to guarantee performance and consistency to a commercial partner, say an AI robotics company.
You can't rely on my old Windows laptop in the corner.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
cannot rely on the wildly variable operating system configurations of consumer devices. Linux offers an open source, highly stable, and most importantly, a standardized execution environment.
So everyone's running the same base.
Everyone is running the same base. The Linux node release lets partners and more technically capable pioneers run this uniform self-updating software. This guarantees operational consistency, which is absolutely vital for high-stakes commercial AI computations that demand minimal downtime and reliable performance across the whole distributed cluster.
It turns a messy, heterogeneous mass of desktops into a clean, standardized grid.
That's it.
That makes perfect sense. Commercial partners need predictable inputs. And to manage that grid, I imagine the underlying framework, the protocol itself, had to evolve dramatically too.
Oh, massively.
We see constant mentions of ongoing protocol upgrades. They moved from version 19 to version 23 in 1 year. 4 version jumps that's aggressive.
It is aggressive, but it signals fundamental, necessary technical work. These upgrades are essential to manage all this new functionality.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just think about what a decentralized compute network actually requires. You need secure, granular allocation of resources. You need to meter performance metrics from thousands of separate machines in real time.
And handle all the payments.
And complex payment flows for successfully completed tasks. You just can't manage that level of complexity on an older protocol. Protocol version 23 introduces the robust control mechanisms needed to manage those tasks and ensure proper resource allocation and secure payment processing.
What's so fascinating here is that this isn't just a technical footnote in a long report.
Right.
This is a profound strategic decision. They are turning network security devices into profitable, decentralized computational resources.
They are.
They're laying the groundwork for utility that places them directly into the high-growth AI compute market, not just the niche crypto transaction market. They are fundamentally transforming the network's identity.
They're repositioning their entire distributed infrastructure. It's the definition of turning a necessary cost, which is network security, into a potential revenue center, which is global compute power.
And if the demand from the AI and robotics world actually materializes,
the scale they've already achieved gives them an enormous initial advantage over smaller, less distributed networks.
Okay, so the technical foundation for that decentralized computing is clear, but let's zoom out and dive deeper into Pi's overall AI philosophy.
Yeah.
Because their ambition, it goes way beyond just providing raw computation power. They frame their entire strategy around solving three unresolved challenges of the modern world when it comes to AI.
And they position the network as a solution provider for these huge, systemic global problems created by AI centralization.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first challenge they identify is the infancy of the AI application layer.
The application layer, meaning?
Essentially, powerful AI models exist. We hear about them every day. But the creative, diverse, and everyday useful applications built on top of them are still pretty scarce.
So the tools are there, but the digital storefront is empty.
That's a great way to put it. The second challenge addresses the human side of the equation. It's about defining the role of human intelligence in an AI-driven world.
Right. As AI automates more and more tasks, how do we, as humans, stay relevant? How do we contribute value and maintain our economic agency?
And then there's the third one, which is maybe the most politically and economically critical of all.
Go on.
It's figuring out the fair distribution of AI-generated production benefits to real people.
Because right now, that wealth just accrues almost exclusively to the handful of huge centralized corporations that own the models and the data centers.
Exactly. Pi is asking, how do we democratize that wealth?
So Pi's approach is to use blockchain and AI together as a single integrated system. The blockchain isn't just a ledger for coins.
No, it's a mechanism for accountability, for authenticity, and for securing contributions.
Okay, break that down.
Well, they're using the network to support productivity and authenticity, so ensuring that contributions, whether that's code from a developer or compute power from a node operator, are verifiable and rewarded. But the macro-level goal is to use the network's token system to enable the distribution of those AI-driven production benefits directly to the people who contribute.
So they're aiming to democratize access to the coming AI wealth boom.
That seems to be the core mission.
And that desire to rapidly flesh out that application layer you mentioned, that leads directly to the launch of the Pi App Studio.
Yes.
This is their solution to the infancy of the application layer problem.
It's an aggressive, practical solution. The App Studio is a generative AI-powered coding tool. It's designed specifically for creators without a deep technical or coding background.
So it lowers the barrier to entry.
It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. It allows subject matter experts, a teacher, a small business owner, a farmer, whoever, to use these guided workflows to turn their domain knowledge into functional apps.
And publish them directly to the Pi ecosystem.
Directly, no middleman.
Giving non-technical users the ability to create functional applications, that is a huge shift in platform strategy. And the community response seems to confirm that this approach was the right one.
Oh, the adoption numbers for a single year are staggering. We saw over 13,400 chatbot apps created.
13,000.
And another 24,400 custom apps, all created and published. And if you count the unpublished projects, the pioneers who just dipped their toes in to experiment, more than 51,800 individual pioneers created applications inside the App Studio environment.
51,000 creators in a single year. That just demonstrates a profound community readiness. There's this vibrant desire to build utility as long as the tools are made accessible.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of scale you need to avoid the digital ghost town effect that plagues so many new Web3 launches.
It's critical mass. And they made sure the tool wasn't a walled garden itself. They updated the App Studio to allow creators to download, customize, and then re-upload their code directly within the studio.
That's a subtle but really vital move.
Yes, it prevents vendor lock-in, it encourages this open-source iterative mentality, and it ensures true ownership and development flexibility for the pioneer creators.
This all shows they understand that community energy needs capital backing to scale up into meaningful enterprises. Speaking of capital, Building utility and attracting serious partners, that requires serious investment. And that brings us to the formal launch of Pi Network Ventures.
This is a major signal of institutional maturity. The Pi Foundation formalized an investment initiative of $100 million,
$100 million.
funded in a strategic mix of Pi and USD. And the mandate is very clear and non-speculative,
Which is?
to strategically invest in startups that advance the utility, the adoption, and the real-world impact of the Pi ecosystem.
Okay, $100 million is a substantial investment, especially when it's directed so strategically at utility.
It is.
But let's play devil's advocate. In the context of global AI and Web3 venture funding, where a single seed round can top that,
Sure.
does $100 million fundamentally move the needle? Is it enough to meaningfully compete with these established billion-dollar VCs and the centralized cloud giants like AWS, who are just dominating the AI space?
That's a fair and a necessary critique. And in isolation, no. $100 million is not enough to compete on raw capital expenditure with a behemoth like AWS.
Right.
However, the strategy here isn't about outspending them. It's about strategically funding proof-of-concept use cases that leverage the one thing Pi has that AWS doesn't.
Which is the user base.
15 million verified decentralized users and 1 million dedicated distributed CPUs. The fund acts as a catalyst for utility creation, not as a capital war chest.
And the first two announced investments, they perfectly illustrate this strategic catalytic approach. Let's start with the first one, OpenMind.
OpenMind. They're developing an operating system and an open source protocol for robots. The sources describe it as the Android for robots.
Android for robots, okay.
And this investment is the crucial link. It connects the venture capital strategy directly back to the decentralized computing infrastructure we were just talking about.
So it transforms that theoretical utility of the Pi Linux node
into a live, practical application.
It proves the model.
Exactly. The collaboration with OpenMind involved a highly successful proof-of-concept project. They explicitly used Pi's global node network to support decentralized AI training and computing tasks for OpenMind's robotics models.
So this was the field test.
This was the field test. It validated the whole premise that the nodes could serve commercial-grade, sophisticated computational needs, like those required by a decentralized robotics OS. It successfully monetized the network's decentralized compute power.
So investment number one validates the utility for the infrastructure, for the nodes.
Yeah.
The second investment, City Games, that clearly addresses the other side of the equation, mass adoption and consumer utility.
Exactly. City Games is building Pi-integrated games for pioneers, and they're also creating a platform to support other developers who want to do the same.
And the rationale is pretty obvious.
It's explicit and it's powerful. Pi views gaming as a vertical that perfectly fits the ecosystem for utility creation and, crucially, for massive engagement.
Yeah, gaming provides consistent, high-frequency interaction and transactions. That's precisely the economic activity you need to bring life and liquidity to a new decentralized economy.
It also lowers the entry barrier. It focuses on fun and engagement rather than asking people to understand complex financial maneuvers from day one.
So if we look at this capital deployment holistically, that $100 million venture fund is being deployed across the two main pillars of the Pi ecosystem.
That's right.
OpenMind tackles the decentralized computing, providing a revenue stream and a use case for the node operators.
And City Games addresses mass engagement, providing adoption, utility, and economic flow for the 15+ million general users.
It's a balanced two-pronged attack. It's designed to generate both back-end infrastructure utility and front-end consumer demand.
A very smart, synergistic approach.
So we've established the infrastructure, the strategy, and the capital. But none of that, none of it generates a viable economy unless you have a massive, verified audience ready to participate.
The human element.
The human element. And that brings us to this monumental operational task of KYC and mainnet migration.
This is arguably the most challenging feat for any massive-scale crypto project. A decentralized network, it needs a huge verified user base to create real utility.
Oh.
But scaling identity verification efficiently without compromising security or accuracy is, well, it's a nightmare.
And the source material details some significant and I think pretty brilliant measures they took to speed up both the KYC and the mainnet migration processes in 2025.
They did. They recognized that the existing system, which often involved these lengthy queues, was just slowing down economic development.
So they introduced something called fast-track KYC.
Correct. Fast-track KYC was a critical operational release. It was designed to aggressively accelerate the onboarding process.
And how does it do that?
It allows new pioneers and, crucially, non-users who want to integrate services or develop on the platform to complete their identity verification faster than ever before.
So it lowers the onboarding friction.
Significantly, it makes the mainnet ecosystem immediately accessible to potential partners and serious builders who need verification now, not in 6 months.
And internally, they leaned heavily into the very technology they champion AI to solve their own scaling problems.
Yes, they integrated significant additional AI into the standard KYC process.
And this is where that operational excellence meets their technological innovation. The AI integration was specifically designed to handle the massive volume of KYC applications.
It took over the most scalable parts of the review process.
How exactly did that AI integration have the human validator queue? I mean, what specific tasks were shifted from people to algorithms?
Okay, so think about the typical bottlenecks in any KYC process. You have basic document consistency checks.
Like, is the name the same on all documents?
Exactly. You have automated liveness detection for the video verification. You have initial data extraction and formatting.
The repetitive stuff.
The highly repetitive, high-volume stuff. Previously, even a simple, non-contentious application might have had to wait for a human to just confirm those initial steps.
And now the AI does it.
The AI now rapidly processes all of those standardized checks, ensuring document integrity and standard compliance. So only the most complex, ambiguous, or error-prone applications, where a human eye is genuinely needed for critical judgment, are funneled to the human validators.
That is a fundamental operational success. You're focusing your human resources only on the high-value, complex cases.
Right. And by doing that, they dramatically reduce the strain on the entire validator network.
And the quantifiable impact is just staggering.
It really is. This AI integration cut the backlog of KYC applications waiting for a human review by 50%.
50%. Halved it.
But by having that queue, they didn't just speed up processing, they demonstrated that their whole AI strategy, it extends beyond just external utility. It's part of their core internal operational efficiency.
This rapid efficiency, it brings us to what I think is the aha moment of this entire deep dive.
The numbers. The sheer numbers detailing the migrated population. And these figures are not just statistics. They represent an active, ready-to-use economy.
They absolutely define the scale of the verified, addressable user base. As of the end of 2025, over 17.5 million pioneers have fully passed KYC.
17.5 million people. That is a colossal number by any Web3 metric.
It's almost unheard of.
And the critical next step, the migration to the mainnet, also shows incredible success.
Yes. Of those verified pioneers, 15.8 million have successfully migrated their tokens to the mainnet.
Let's just pause on that number for a second. 15.8 million. To put that in perspective for you, that is more KYC verified active users than some of the largest, most established blue-chip decentralized finance protocols combined.
It's a staggering figure.
That number alone should make every competitor in the space sit up and take notice.
It's the foundation for any meaningful, functioning peer-to-peer economy. In Web3, users are the ultimate form of utility.
So when Pi Network Ventures invests in a company like City Games or partners with OpenMind, they aren't just offering capital or infrastructure. They're offering immediate, zero acquisition cost access to 15.8 million KYC-verified consumers and economic actors.
And that radically changes the value proposition for every developer and every partner considering building on their ecosystem.
It changes everything.
We also saw huge progress in resolving some of the lingering backlog issues from previous years.
We did.
The sources note that these system process checks enabled over 3.36 million tentatively KYC'd users to finally pass.
And those were the pioneers who were previously stuck in this kind of identity limbo.
So out of 4.76 million who were eligible, they cleared 3.36 million of them.
Which shows a really dedicated commitment to clearing that historical queue and maximizing participation. They focused on leveraging their new tools to push millions of pioneers across the finish line.
Adding several million more active participants to the mainnet economy.
Who now have access to their migrated balances and the entire marketplace. The implication for utility is crystal clear. With 15.8 million pioneers migrated, the ecosystem has the critical mass necessary to make decentralized apps, commerce, and finance truly viable.
It provides liquidity, not just of tokens, but of human attention and transactional volume.
And that's the harder kind to get.
With that user base verified and migrated, a massive operational success, the focus then shifted entirely to fostering internal growth,
Right.
and proving that the open network wasn't just open for business, but that it was open for meaningful innovation. They had to show that those 15.8 million people had somewhere valuable to go.
And that drive to innovate was immediately formalized through the Pi Hackathon 2025. This was the
Perfect.
first one they held since the open network launched.
And the mandate was very precise.
Very precise. They wanted participants building and deploying meaningful Pi apps that empower real-world utility.
So not just speculative token trading or another DeFi clone.
Exactly. They wanted real-world use cases.
And the community delivered.
In spades. The sources noted over 215 completed mainnet apps were submitted.
Completed and on the mainnet. So these aren't just prototypes.
Not at all. These were functional, live applications designed for that migrated user base. And from that very competitive field, 3 winners and 5 honorable mentions were chosen.
Which reinforces that commitment to quality and shows the speed at which the community is translating ideas into deployed utility.
Absolutely.
And beyond just competitive events, they introduced mechanisms to manage and promote the rapidly growing number of quality apps.
Yes, ecosystem directory staking.
This is a crucial piece of platform-level utility that we really need to unpack.
It is. It's a direct response to the problem of discovery that you see in any crowded app store.
Right. How do you find the good stuff?
How do you find the good stuff? Directory staking is a decentralized method for pioneers and for businesses to actively support and promote the ranking of high-quality apps within the ecosystem interface.
Okay, so how does that actually decentralize the promotion? What's the mechanism?
Well, instead of a centralized team at Pi deciding which app gets featured, a system that's often subject to bias or, outdated metrics, the community uses a staking mechanism
With their Pi token.
with their Pi tokens to signal quality, reliability, and genuine utility. The apps that receive genuine community-backed stakes gain better prominence and visibility in the directory.
So it transforms app promotion into a decentralized, merit-based system.
Exactly. It helps to ensure the apps that actually provide real-world value rise to the top efficiently.
That's smart. It connects utility with community endorsement through a token mechanism. Now, let's pivot to the financial mechanics.
DeFi.
DeFi. It's necessary for any full-fledged economy. For any true Web3 economy, decentralized finance tools are essential for liquidity. And Pi launched some significant features on their testnet.
Yes. The creation of DX, or decentralized exchange functionality, AMM liquidity pools.
Automated market maker pools.
Right, and token creation features. These are all launched on the testnet. This is absolutely foundational for building a vibrant internal economy.
An economy where pioneers can exchange goods and services, and where developers can list their own application tokens.
Precisely.
Why is it so crucial that this was deployed on the testnet first and not straight to the mainnet? I mean, a lot of projects, they rush straight to mainnet to generate hype and liquidity.
And that rush is exactly what they're trying to avoid. The testnet serves as a live but completely safe proving ground.
A sandbox.
A sandbox. It allows developers and the community to rigorously test the complex mechanics of decentralized finance, how tokens trade, how slippage works, how liquidity pools function, all of it, safely, without risking a single real migrated token.
That is responsible building. It prioritizes robustness and security over a rushed and potentially disastrous launch.
And the sources confirm they took user feedback from that testnet period very seriously.
They did. These features were updated recently to improve usability and clarity based on that initial user feedback and testing.
So they're prioritizing making these complex financial tools accessible to the average pioneer, not just to, crypto experts and DeFi degens.
And that shift in focus usability over speed, that's key to their mass adoption strategy.
It is.
We should also briefly mention the conclusion of the asset management side of things, specifically the .pi domains auction.
Right, the auction concluded. And the next steps mentioned in the report focus on the claiming process.
And what's special about that?
The sources emphasize that this process is meticulously designed to ensure those domains are used for genuine purposes. This is an explicit effort to mitigate the risk of malicious hoarding or squatting or just pure speculation.
Which plagues every other domain launch in Web3.
It does. So again, the emphasis is on utility, not speculative asset flipping.
Finally, we need to look outward. What does the external world think, and what is the leadership's message to the broader crypto community?
This is key.
Pi founder Cheng Jiaofan made a very high-profile appearance at Token 2049 in Singapore.
A critical moment for external signaling. Her presentation, it explored how blockchain can truly drive real societal utility and impact, especially when it's integrated with AI.
The exact strategy we've been discussing this whole time.
The very same. But she didn't just stand up there and present Pi's successes. She used a platform to issue a critical challenge to the entire industry.
It was.
She highlighted the current challenges in Web3 and potential solutions, pushing the entire crypto space toward much more innovation and real-world utility, rather than focusing so solely on liquidity and trading volume.
And that raises a really important question for the entire crypto industry, doesn't it?
It does.
Is the market too focused on price and liquidity? And is it neglecting the fundamental scalable use cases that will actually sustain Web3 in the long term?
And Pi Network's entire 6-year-long utility-first strategy is essentially an attempt to answer that question with a resounding yes, and here's how you fix it.
It's a positioning move. It basically says, we might not have been the fastest to market, but we are building the most fundamentally sound, user-verified, and utility-driven infrastructure out there.
A powerful statement.
This has been an incredibly detailed deep dive into a single, pivotal year. To synthesize all of this, 2025 was really defined by 3 massive shifts that all materialized at once after years of quiet building.
Absolutely. First, you had the move from a closed building phase to an open network. That provided the basic connectivity.
Step 1.
Step 1. Second, the strategic deployment of capital and the AI tooling, including that key partnership with OpenMind, proved the decentralized AI computing potential of the node network.
It proved the model worked.
It proved the model worked. And third, the operational acceleration of KYC and migration rapidly scaled the verified active user base to over 15.8 million pioneers.
Providing the economic engine for all the utility that's being built.
It's a fuel for the fire.
So what does this aggressive scaling and foundational strengthening mean for 2026 and beyond? Here's where it gets really interesting. What is the long-term outlook that the source material points toward?
The sources quote the future outlook as being shaped by 1. Long-term strategies, 2. Continuous building, and 3, and this is crucial, the creation of more utilities and use cases. And those are to be driven collaboratively by the community, developers, and partners. The emphasis remains firmly on scaling the functional economic output of the network.
So they're moving from proving they can build it to proving it can thrive.
Exactly. The foundation is laid. Now it's time to build the city on top of it.
Now, let's leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought. Something to really mull over based on this confluence of technologies we've analyzed today. This collision of decentralized computing, massive user bases, and cutting-edge AI.
Just think about the numbers again for a moment. You've got 15.8 million users migrated and active. You've got 51,800 creators building applications.
And you have a successful proof of concept showing that the global node network can handle decentralized AI computing tasks for sophisticated partners like OpenMind.
All the pieces are on the board.
So, consider this fundamental question. If a network succeeds in compensating millions of decentralized users through their own desktop computers for the vast computational needs of global AI models,
Right.
does that fundamentally shift the economic structure of the Internet's most critical emerging technology? Does the Pi node economy become the true distributed economic backbone of the decentralized AI economy, bypassing the centralized cloud giants entirely?
It's a concept that directly challenges the current centralized wealth structure of the entire internet.
It really is.
It posits that computational wealth can be sourced, generated, and distributed globally to millions of individuals rather than being concentrated in 3 or 4 massive server farms in Virginia.
A truly fascinating future to watch unfold as those computational contracts start to ramp up.
Absolutely.
A huge thank you to the learner for sending us this substantial and really critical source material. It gave us a tremendous amount to dig into today. Keep digging, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.